What's going on, everybody? This is the RGR Football Channel. Here's Daniel Harms, and I am going to be talking today a little bit about everything that's gone on over the past week, gearing up for the start of the new year, which is 8 days away. This is Tuesday, March 8th, so we have exactly 8 days from now until the start of the new year, and things are starting to roll a little bit. We're seeing some things come down the pipeline, some rumors hitting the mill about Tyreek Hill's possible extension and things like that. I think we're going to see some more leaks come out over the course of the next week as everything comes to fruition next Wednesday when free agency opens for every NFL team. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is Tyrann Mathieu. What does this whole situation mean? Okay, there's really two camps of thought here. Either he's going to get a bigger extension, a bigger contract than he has now, which is a $14 million per year average. What does that mean? That means that the Chiefs likely are priced out of that range. Okay. But there's also another camp. There's rumors that his market might not be as big or as expensive as he was initially anticipating. So maybe we'll get some information on how much the Chiefs have offered him per year. Because as you get to that big old 3-0 number, meaning 30 years old, there are some teams, quite a bit of teams, that maybe don't want to spend the top dollar on a safety that, as good as Tyrann Mathieu is, I think that there's still a very good chance that he doesn't end up getting over $14 million per year, which he got in Kansas City. That's a very possibility right now. So what does this whole thing change? Well, first of all, he does plan to test the market, so hopefully he figures out what he wants to do, whatever that is. Peace be with you. You figure it out. If you want to get paid, you will get paid. And if you can't get paid, find your way back to Kansas City, because that's what I think ideally makes the most sense for everybody. For him, he already knows the system. He's on a team that's going to have an opportunity to continuously challenge for titles, so that makes sense for him, but maybe can't always offer top dollar. I'm just hoping that at this point there's those rumors that his market's more, maybe double digits. We're really not sure if it's going to be less than $10 million a year that people end up offering him. So I would like to see him in Kansas City, and if that ends up making him a little bit cheaper than he has been, I'm all for it, because I think we've seen the defense be better under him as the guy that does everything on the back end everywhere else. So I'm all for that. Now, next domino that has fallen was the Orlando Brown non-exclusive franchise tag. What does that mean? That means that basically all of the rules of a franchise tag are in place. He's getting hit with, I think, a $6.5 million cap hit for next year if the tag stays and they can't get a deal done. But it allows him and other teams to reach out and offer him contracts. The difference here is that if he signs somewhere else, not in Kansas City, that team would have to surrender 2 first-round draft picks for the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's a pretty good indication that, 1, he's not going anywhere. 2, other teams aren't going to want to do that. So I think that this has always been coming down the pipeline for a while now. I don't think he necessarily earned a huge top of the market value contract with his play last year. I think he improved as the season went along. I think Patrick helped, and he understood the strengths and the weaknesses as the season went along, and they're going to work together to find a deal. Right now, he's not signing the franchise tag till later in the offseason or until they figure out an extension for him, because he wants to focus on other things like Patrick Mahomes' wedding. He's actually said there's been talk from someone close to him about he's more focused on preparing and being around Patrick and trying to get everything on the same page with him and focus on things outside of football. There's also a charity event at the end of March, and then trying to get into the best shape of his career, which is every single player's goal in an offseason, is to get the best shape of their life. So I hope he's able to get that figured out, and he's going to be in Kansas City. I believe he's going to be in here for the long haul. The last thing that I mentioned off the top was the Tyreek Hill extension. With the tagging of Orlando Brown Jr., now the Chiefs cap sits at over there right now. They're over by $5 million before everything hits the books, okay? They're over. So there are some things that have to happen. One of the things that has been talked about and has been leaked a little bit here and there is the Tyreek Hill extension, a possible 4-year extension, which would make him one of the highest paid players in the NFL. Looking at about I think rumored numbers, about $85 million on a 4-year extension, worth more than $40 million guaranteed. Which again, we're talking about a just over about $21 million per year contract. It's going to lower his cap number in 2022, but as the salary cap expands and everything like that goes on, you're going to see that he's going to be a much higher paid player. So I personally have no issues with the contract. I think he's more than deserving of it. And really, if you get this done now, you're preventing him from possibly going somewhere else and signing an even bigger contract in the offseason next year. And this is going to be one of those things you try and get ahead of so he's not uber more expensive next year, especially if he goes out this year, which we expect him to, and have a much better year than his last down season. I think this is what we're going to see. They used him a lot more in the short area, getting him on in areas where he can just use his yak and his quickness to be able to create bigger plays instead of always downfield. So definitely something we're looking at, and something that Ryan and I have been talking about most of this last half of the season about possible things you can do to create salary cap space. And one of those things is to extend Tyreek Hill. He's not going anywhere. The Chiefs don't want him to go anywhere. Patrick isn't going to want to go anywhere, and I don't think he wants to either. So that's another thing that they can do. So what we're going to do here is kind of go through some of the scenarios with their cap that we can we can see it for ourselves. And we're going to, again, play around a little bit on the cap calculator at Over the Cap. And I know that there's been some issues with being able to see everything. So what I'm going to try and do is use my tool that I draw on the film with to kind of point you in my direction of what I'm looking at and really try to get on with that. So let's go ahead and see what we got here. So this is, I know it's small. Can I zoom in? There's zoom over here, right? Okay, how about that? Let's do that. Maybe that'll make it a little bit easier for everybody to see everything. So, like I said, as of right now, you have the Chiefs are $5.4 million over the cap, okay? So the biggest thing we've talked about since the start of this whole thing is Patrick Mahomes, his number, okay? This does push money down, but as we've mentioned, this is the most unique contract in all of sports. So there's always going to be things that you can do to move money, restructure, and kind of save anything you want to in certain different times. So we are going to obviously restructure his contract, and that creates $22 million in cap space. Boom, done. Now the Chiefs are $17 million free in cap. Just with that one simple thing. I believe you can also restructure Chris Jones a little bit. That also pushes more money down the line. But if that's something you're looking at doing, it's possible. I don't think the Chiefs are going to do that with Chris Jones unless they absolutely have to. So I'm going to just give you a little look at what it does so you can see. That puts the Chiefs at about $28 million in cap space in 2022. Okay, so you're seeing right here the 2022, 2023, obviously there's going to be players coming off the books, and then in 2024 they basically have like a third of their roster signed for going further. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting dynamic as they always are looking to find ways to get things cleared. But again, I don't think that they're going to look to Chris Jones unless they absolutely have to. So let's create that back, and then let's look at the obvious one. We are going to have a post June 1st cut of Frank Clark, which we assume is going to happen. That creates a lot more money in cap space too. Now you're up to $36.8 million in cap space. There are even more things that you can do. Again, like we said, the contract for Tyreek Hill. If we extend him, so the 4-year contract, if we make, like I said, this is going to be the lower number this year, probably around 15, million dollars, and then you're going to have, 23 million, and then something like, what is this? So this is 5, 11, So 61 million. You still have to get to 84, which leaves you with 13. No, 23. Another 23. Haha. So this is just a basic look at his numbers, what they could be over the next 4 years. Okay. That's not right. Okay, so we convert all this. This is, like I said, I'm trying to get everything in basic numbers and dollars and cents so you can just see what the cap number would be, okay? So let's try that. And that creates a little bit too. I don't know what they would end up doing it overall, but you can see, you can kind of manipulate the cap space that you have and the cap hit on Tyreek Hill by doing some bonuses and putting all those in signing bonuses and restructures and things like that. So there is more room to play with there, but that's almost $40 million in cap space. Boom. And you have that. There's just a couple little moves that you have to easy do that. And then, like I said, if we hit that restructure on Chris Jones, they're playing with $50 million, okay? It does make next year's cap space go down because you're pushing that money forward, but that is the basic gist of it, and you have quite a bit of money to play with. And I know that we've talked a bit about some of the moves they make. I do think you're going to see Andrew Wiley come back next year. Charvarius Ward's an option 2, 26 years old. Depending on the contract he's going to get, he's definitely in consideration to come back. And then you have Tyrann Mathieu, okay? Always an option, but that's just the basic stuff. I didn't want to get too much into signing more players, but since we're here, let's go into, where is this? The free agency tracker, okay? Just so we can see. We assume, I think we've seen Von Miller kind of show you that he wants to be in Denver once again, which good for him. He's went and got a Super Bowl and wants to go back. But Allen Robinson is going to be allowed to test the free agent market, okay? You can make that work with the cap space that I just showed you. So there's some things you can do, and you can still sign a Tyrann Mathieu, but you have to make sure that there's obviously enough space at the end to sign your draft class, and that's always going to be there. It's going to be there at the back of their mind. So again, there's lots of players here that you're going to be looking at. There's some options at safety here too. There's obviously Mathieu. Not really sure about Devin McCourty, no thanks, but you have Marcus May. Marcus Williams is another big name too that is talking about testing the market, who's going to get paid quite a bit, probably more than Tyrann Mathieu, to be honest. So that's maybe not the best idea, but lots of names. Juju Smith-Schuster is a guy who's come up a lot, connected to the Chiefs. So again, I'm interested to see how this is going to work out. And again, there's so many different ways that they can make money for this season. So they've done a great job of setting themselves up to be in a position to spend a good amount of money in their free agency to get some players that they want. We know Patrick is interested in getting a veteran wide receiver. I think Byron Pringle comes back. I think you add a Juju Smith-Schuster, a Jamison Crowder, or maybe an Allen Robinson if you can make those numbers work. So just a little setting of the table before we get into everything that's going on with free agency. I'm excited to see what happens. I think it's going to be hopefully a nice, mildly active free agent class for the Chiefs. Interested to see what they're going to do. Also, I have some news. I have started a Twitch channel for myself when I'm just basically watching film. So if you want to come in, learn a little bit more than just what I do on the film rooms, I'm going through all games. It's not just little clips here and there. So I'm watching in depth and I'm clipping some of the things that I'm going to be using for my film rooms and things like that. You have more the abilities to ask live questions, and it's a much more casual film viewing experience. So if you want to, you can follow me on twitch.tv/inharmsway19. I'll be going live every Wednesday in the afternoon when I start watching more film for the week, and then we're going to do sporadic film rooms and streams throughout the weekend. I'm going to throw some games in there too because I still like to play video games at times, and that's just going to be what that is. But I would appreciate it if you guys did check that out. It'd be awesome. To anybody interested, make sure you tune in tomorrow for my film room on the edge out of Minnesota, Boy Mafe, athletic kind of guy who's got a lot of tools, We're going to see how he fits maybe into this defense if that's the way they end up going. And then Thursday, you have Ryan, Seth, Chief in the North, everything continuously. More little videos brought to you from Combine Breakdowns. This is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm hoping to join Ryan Sunday on that live mock. It's going to be so much fun. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more, and subscribe to RGR Football.